Atlantis rising. Is this from Globebusters? These are a bunch of crazy people who think that the Earth is flat, and they do things that they think proves this to be the case, although they are always wrong, shockingly enough. So let's see what this video called Atlantis Rising is about.
We've all heard of Alfred Wegener's 1912 theory of Pangea, or continental drift, which, though rejected by the scientific community until the 1950s, is now the basis of the theory of plate tectonics.
Yeah, because we found new evidence and it turned out to be the case. Yes, we live on a planet that has plate tectonics. I imagine everyone remembers this from school. This is like elementary school shit. Basically, there are different plates that make up the Earth. It's done up into sections, and when these plates shift, it can cause things called earthquakes, but also they just do slowly move over time, and it causes the continents to slowly change positions on the Earth over time. There is a ton of evidence for this. It's really not something... I don't even know why they would need to disprove plate tectonics for a flat Earth, but I guess they're gonna die on that hill. Oh, hills, by the way, sometimes are created by plate tectonics. So...
We've also all played square pegs as a child, where we found out the hard way. Although a diamond is pretty close to a square, a diamond is not a square. The same problem arises when we look at Pangea. That is close, but that is not a perfect fit.
Yeah, but the shapes have changed slightly over time, too, due to erosion and a myriad of other factors. It doesn't literally mean that the coastline hasn't changed at all in the past however many millions of years it's been since Pangea. My goodness. Yeah, again, coastlines change due to erosion. It's a very well understood concept. Water and other factors will create friction on surfaces and wear them away over time. There can also be other issues that happen with land masses that change them over time. That's kind of part of plate tectonics. Like, features on the surface of the planet can change due to a bunch of different factors, but plate tectonics can come into play there too. Like, imagine if I... Do I have scissors in here? I don't think I do. What's this? Is this a piece of paper I can use? What's this? It's a manual for something. I'll just use the back cover of this. Okay, so take this piece of paper, right? I can rip it in half. And then, even if I try and put it back together, it's not going to come back exactly. But also imagine over millions of years there's erosion. And some of it gets chipped away, some of the features changed, new sediment deposits come and actually might add things over time. And then the same thing happens over here over the same period of time, right? So even though these pieces were once together, and there are certain points where you can see where they fit together quite well, because of the erosion, the pieces don't match like they're a puzzle exactly. That's not what we know about... plate tectonics is not based upon the fact that the continents fit perfectly together. There are many observations that show us that plate tectonics and Pangea are facts of our physical Earth. Dude Spanking Dudes with a bit says, love how my dad crashed my mom's car getting me food, and then my mom got pissed at my dad and me, since she says something along the line, this wouldn't happen if he wouldn't have gotten you food. Last time I ate was at 2:30. It's 2 minutes to 7, so thanks, I guess. Everything is my fault. She won't even let me call Uber Eats, and I don't know where my bread is since my mom hides it. Oh, your parents sound awful. No offense, but...
But when we start to look under the Atlantis, or Atlantic Ocean, at the shapes of the Challenger Ridge, Connecting Ridge, and Dolphin Ridge, a remarkable thing happens.
Anything but inspect this temple of capitalism?
Railcast, thank you for raiding. Appreciate that. Do they not understand that they're literally just, like, outlining currents that are created by the shape of the continents that they're off the coast of? Like, yeah, land masses affect water around them. That's how water works.
While historians and archaeologists carry on pretending that Atlantis was just a worldwide mythological place or legend,
It was an allegory that someone told. I'm gonna have to look this up. Atlantis. It was like Plato or something like that. The island of Atlantis is a fictional island mentioned in an allegory on the hubris of nations in Plato's works. Timaeus and Critias, where it represents the antagonist naval power that besieges ancient Athens, the pseudo-historical embodiment of Plato's ideal state in the Republic. This would be like doing a conspiracy where you're listening to Plato's allegory of the cave. I don't know if you've heard of Plato's allegory of the cave, but it's like a fundamental, like, thing you learn in philosophy. It's basically told as such. Imagine that you are chained to a wall in a cave. Behind you is a flickering fire, and behind that, or between that and the fire, are people, you know, carrying a myriad of shapes. And you're looking at this wall, and you can only see the shadows cast on the wall. Now, to you, that's all you've ever known is that wall, and to you, that is reality. It's basically a way of showing the limits of our own cognition and how we have blinders on in all of our own ways. It's an allegory, but this would be like if someone made a video where they're like, alright folks, Plato told us about this fucking cave, alright? We got some people chained up in a cave looking at shadows all day. It's time to go liberate these fuckers in a cave. Like, no, you've missed the entire point. It's an allegory. He's not literally saying these things are real. He's using them to illustrate points. I swear, Plato would be spinning in his fucking grave.
it doesn't take more than a quick comparison of Plato's Atlantis, brought down by Solon, and this sunken landmass in the Atlantic Ocean to question why they can't see the blaringly obvious. In Solon's account of the Atlantic island, it was first settled by a godlike man named Poseidon. We call him the god of the sea, but never question why he is always depicted holding a trident or a farming pitchfork, or why he's riding horses instead of dolphins.
Let's take a look, shall we? Why is Poseidon depicted with the trident? The trident is associated with the sea god Poseidon and his Roman counterpart Neptune. Poseidon, as well as being a god of the sea, was also known as the Earth Shaker, believed to cause earthquakes. Some commenters have extrapolated that the god would have used the trident to cause them, possibly by striking the earth. Still, I would like some cultural meaning. The trident of Poseidon and his Roman equivalent Neptune has been their traditional divine attributed feature in many ancient depictions. Poseidon's trident was crafted by the Cyclopses. According to the second and third Vatican mythographer, Neptune's trident symbolizes the three properties of water: liquidity, fecundity, don't know what that is, and drinkability. The trident of Neptune was viewed by Roman scholar Marcus Severus Honoritus as a three-pronged because the sea is said to be a third part of the world, or because there are three kinds of waters: seas, streams, and rivers. Don't tell him about lakes. Anyway, so there are a myriad of theories, but
Solon claimed that a great nation power came...
Spearfishing? Are tridents used often in spearfishing? That's what I was expecting the answer to be, but I didn't see anything about it, so...
forth out of the Atlantic Ocean, and that back in those days, the Atlantic was still navigable by ship, hinting that in his time it was not, and that there was an island situated in front of the straits called the Pillars of Heracles, which we now call the Straits of Gibraltar. This island was larger than Libya and Asia put together. It was the way to other islands, and from the islands you might pass through the whole of the...
Surely you must understand that to the Greeks, the Atlantic Ocean would be this, like, insane, daunting task to sail through, right? Because in their own seas closer to home, they could have a bearing and be close to civilization. But when you get out into the Atlantic Ocean with the kind of boats that the Greeks used, it would be incredibly difficult to keep yourself from sinking. Their ships just did not have the capability to go out into open ocean like that in the Atlantic and be safe for long periods of time. They didn't have the naval technology. So I'd imagine the Atlantic was sort of a mysterious sea to them, you know? It was a sea full of danger and treachery, which is why you get, you know, myths about Poseidon and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Opposite continent which surrounded the true ocean, claiming the Mediterranean Sea within the Strait of Heracles is only a harbor, having a narrow entrance, but the other is a real sea, and the surrounding land may be most truly called a continent, showing Solon had knowledge of the Americas on the other side of the Atlantic already.
No! What? No!
In 630 BC. Solon claimed the Atlantean Empire not only ruled its own island continent, but also as far as Libya, Europe, Egypt, and Tyrrhenia, which is central Italy. Pretty specific geography for a myth. And on the side toward the sea, and in the center of the whole island, there was a plain which is said to have been the fairest of all plains, very fertile, just as we see sunken beneath the ocean today.
Are you saying that because there's flat ground at the bottom of the sea? I would imagine the pressure would have something to do with that.
Solon described the plain. It was rectangular, and for the most part straight and oblong.
That's not rectangular. That's like a generic tube shape.
And what it wanted of the straight line followed the line of the circular ditch. The depth and width and length of this ditch were incredible, and gave the impression that such a work, in addition to so many other works, could hardly have been wrought by the hand of man. It received the streams which came down from the mountains from above, meaning from the north, and straight canals were cut into the plain, and by them They brought down the wood from the mountains to the city.
Yeah, guy, it's part of a fiction they were writing. It would be like, imagine if, I don't know, 2,000 years from now, 5,000 years from now, whatever, there exists only one copy of the Lord of the Rings, or the Silmarillion, or whatever the heck it is, the appendix, basically, that just talks about, you know, the history of Middle-earth, and they go, look at how detailed this story is. It must be real. Middle-earth was real. We must find where Mordor was. Like, no, man. It's just a fiction. It's a well-written fiction. When you write fictional worlds, that's like part of it, you know?
The whole country was described as being very lofty and precipitous on the sides of the sea.
How does Atlantis relate to the flat Earth? I have no idea. I don't know why they're talking about it.
But the country immediately about and surrounding the city was a level plain, itself surrounded by mountains which descended toward the sea. Atlantis is smooth and even, but of an oblong shape, and the whole region of the island to the south is sheltered from the northern mountains. And in the center of the capital island, there was a race course of a stadium in width and length, allowed to extend all around the island for horses to race in.
Okay, the reason Poseidon is shown with horses is because people used horses. Are you serious? It's because that's what people used to use carriages. Were horses.
But afterward, there occurred violent earthquakes and floods, and in a single day and night of rain, all your warlike men in a body sunk into the earth, and the island of Atlantis in a like manner disappeared and was sunk beneath the sea. And that is the reason why the sea in those parts was so impassable and impenetrable in Solon's time, because there was such a quantity of shallow mud in the way, and this was caused by the subsidence of the island.
No, it's because it was the Atlantic Ocean, and they did not have the naval capability of getting that far from the shore with the technology they had.
Back in 2011, researchers believe they found the...
Captain Rachel says also Poseidon was the god of horses. When Poseidon desired Demeter, she asked Poseidon to create the world's most beautiful animal in an attempt to cool off his advances. As a result, Poseidon created the first horse and also became the god of horses. It's interesting, I didn't know that.
The lost city of Atlantis in the mud flats of Alicante, southern Spain.
Missed it by that much.
A dozen PhDs and $2 million in research grants between you, and not one of you morons bothered to read the source of the legend or read Donnelly's Atlantis? No, by all means, let us do it for you, for free.
God, these people have such a hate boner for people with actual education. The insecurity is palpable.
The truth is, by the 1880s, deep-sea sonar had already been taken of the Atlantis ocean floor by
Atlantic Ocean.
the U.S. Dolphin, German Gazelle, and British Hydra, Porcupine, and Challenger, resulting in the revelation of a great elevation reaching from a point on the coast of the British Islands southwardly to the coast of South America at
Jouster Zen with 5 bits. Why, Hannah, why are you a hurricane? Not enough subscriptions, that's why. Yep.
Cape Orange,
Much like Poseidon, sate me, and the danger will be over.
and then east to Africa. Just as Solon said, due west of the Straits of Gibraltar or Heracles, we find the last remnants of Atlantis today.
No, you have no evidence of that.
The Azores Islands, which are the very tops of the sunken northern Atlantis mountains,
What evidence do you have that that's the case?
described by Solon, on what is known now as Dolphin Ridge, aka Atlantis. Solon described the white, black, and red stones they quarried and built with, and those same red and white stones are still found on the black lava rocks
Impotent
of the
with 100
Azores
bits. You're
to
more of
this
a
day.
typhoon. Okay.
The powers that be have known about Atlantis for at least 140 years, but have been keeping it a secret from the general public. Stay tuned for part
This is like the kind of erosion I'm talking about in regard to the coastlines changing, by the way.
2.
Water can
when
fuck
we
a lot of
discuss
shit up over millions
why.
of years.